And welcome back to another episode of Go Baby Go TV. I'm Louie Hillman, joined by my partner, the Optimist guy, Brian Sessler. What's up, Brian?
Hey there.
Hey there. Today's episode is Tier 1 terminology. So, Brian, a few weeks ago, I saw basically a sales pitch from an advisor on LinkedIn, and it went as follows. Look how much cash value life insurance Wells Fargo owns. It is a Tier 1 asset or Tier 1 capital. You should own it too. I'm not saying I disagree with that. I'm saying that needs a lot more context. So let's start with this first question. What does it mean when we're talking about Tier 1 capital?
Well, my understanding of Tier 1 capital is the strongest financial rating of an asset in terms of safety. The largest life insurance companies enjoy tremendous financial ratings because their assets and liability mixtures have been so well managed over the last 100 years. In fact, the entire life insurance industry is one that is overcapitalized, meaning they have more money than they need to honor the expected claims associated with annuity obligations and life insurance death benefit obligations. And because of that, of this excess capitalization, they enjoy very high financial ratings, which translates to a Tier 1 capital rating. So if you think of, if you're Wells Fargo and you're looking for a safe parking place for cash assets, cash value life insurance would meet the test because of the underlying strong financial solvency of the life insurance companies themselves, as well as the income tax advantages associated with those cash values growing tax-free within the product.
Yeah, great explanation. And it ties into some of the conversations we've had as it relates to the bank failures that have happened in recent months, really understanding that how banks and how insurance companies are regulated, it really is drastically different. Just talk about that a little bit more. I think that'd be a good refresher.
Well, the type of asset that is on the balance sheet of the life insurance industry, far and away, more than 93% are fixed income securities, bonds, commercial mortgage obligations. Those bonds are either corporate bonds, highly rated corporate bonds, or government bonds. Those bonds, when you buy them, have a certain maturity, number of years before the principal will then be returned to the investor. If you're a life insurance company and you're managing multi-billion-dollar fixed income portfolios, you're being very careful to match the duration of your bonds, meaning the number of years that you're locking the money up, with your expected use of that same money. Because life insurance is a longer term asset, they can predict what their capital needs are going to be because they've got a perfect pool, near perfect pool. The mistake the banks made was there was a total mismatch between the idea of going long, betting long on the maturity with money that was short-term in nature. But the life insurance companies, they could never have make a mistake like that because there is no aspect of the business that is a short-term liquidity problem in the first place. And number two, because of the way they're regulated, they're very, very careful with matching the maturities with the expected uses of the money. And the banks just got very careless and greedy. They made very bad decisions.
Is it pretty common to see big banks with significant amounts of cash value life insurance on their books?
Well, over the last 20 years, it's become bigger and bigger and bigger for those two reasons. The other reason is they have an awful lot of employees. So in many cases, the reason that they have so much money in cash value life insurance is to back up non-qualified supplemental retirement promises that are being made to employees. So it's not completely fair to say they've got all that money. Yes, they do, but they also have a liability or a promise to pay some of their upper management post-retirement cash flow that's going to be financed in some manner from the cash values within those policies.
Yeah, it's a like an executive deferred compensation strategy. That's what you're referring to, correct?
Exactly. Yes. I mean, because you've got very highly paid people at the banks. When I started in business 34 years ago, people that work for banks generally didn't make very much money. Now the world's changed. Now the banks are, first of all, the banks were anywhere close to as big as they are now. The life insurance companies were huge in comparison to the banks. Now it's the reverse. The banks have become gigantic, and the compensation packages to upper management has also become quite fat. And in order to retain that upper talent, then they're promising very lucrative post-retirement arrangements. And those arrangements, they have to set aside money to reserve for the expected payment of those post-retirement streams. And they park the money in permanent life insurance.
Well, let's wrap up and tie this back to the original, sales pitch from the agent. Basically, the banks own life insurance. You should too. Again, there is, if you unpack it, there's some merit to that. But what should be the takeaway, right? If you're talking to the individual customer, and this is part of the conversation, right? Who else owns cash value life insurance? Can you tie that back to this idea that banks own it as well? Can you put that into something that's maybe a little bit more relevant to the individual that we're helping?
Well, I just think of it in a simple way. If the consumer is looking for a safe place to put money, in a place that they can rely on, and you ask the question, can the consumer rely on the financial promises that are being made by the life insurance companies? The answer is yes, they can. The life insurance industry has fulfilled promises for more than 125 years. They've never let the American population down. They've never had to apologize for poor management. They've had excellent management, and they weren't well managed because a government watchdog was looking over their shoulder. They were managed wisely because they were controlled. It was just prudent management is the answer. It was a conservative thought process about not taking too much risk and being good stewards of the capital that had been entrusted to them by the consumers that they serve. So from that standpoint, I'm proud to be a part of that industry. I think they've done a good job by their policyholders, number one. And the other, number two, would be the inherent tax advantages associated with either annuity products or life insurance products are very attractive for people as they save and grow wealth over their lifetime.
Awesome. Well, as always, appreciate your insight, decades of experience, and hopefully this was helpful to you, our audience. So make it a great day.
Thank you.